The Auburn Tigers continue to add players to the transfer portal. Let's take a look at them on this live edition of the Uptempo podcast. Yes, sir. Good evening, Auburn family. Good evening, Uptempo gang. Dustin Smith, Blake Lane coming back at you. Another live edition of the Uptempo podcast. A little bit earlier start on Tuesday than we normally have because Bruce and the boys are tipping off in about 50 minutes. So we'll be sure to get out of here by then. What's the spread on this thing, Blake? 38, 39 points. We're all kind of expecting a big blowout, right?
Yeah, I think it was I got it at 40, I believe. Okay. So I took Georgia State in the 40 now.
Yeah, 40 is a big one.
Yeah, starting out 40-0. That's a little too big. Now, hopefully, Auburn Tigers can win by 38. All right, I'll take that. Give me a 38-point dub. Just don't go over that 40 mark. So, yeah, big time game tonight. Obviously we think Auburn's going to get it done at home. Georgia State, go out and take care of business. Leave the sloppy stuff at home. Leave the 5-minute scoring droughts at home, Bring it tonight and put them away early. And, Dustin, there's a lot to talk about with the transfer portal, man.
Yeah. Speaking of Georgia, is it Georgia State or Georgia Southern we're playing tonight?
I think Georgia State.
Because Cam Brown committed to Georgia Southern. I was going to do a nice little transition there. But, all right, so let's go ahead and talk about who is coming in first, Blake? And we've heard about this one for a couple weeks ago. The Stanford quarterback transfer, Ashton Daniels. Last year, he throws for 1,700 yards, 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Not the best touchdown to interception ratio there, obviously. Mm-hmm. He did have some nice rushing statistics as well. I should have put those on there. I'll pull those up in just a second. But he is a threat to use his legs. And me and you were talking before we got started here. You can kind of tell by his post, right, where his announcement post of coming to Auburn, basically saying, hey, I'm coming in here to compete. I'm coming in here to make the room better. So, hey, if it's a fair quarterback battle, which I feel like I haven't seen at Auburn in ages, then everybody's got a shot type thing. But we know that Jackson Arnold is the big NIL guy. He's the guy that got the big check. He's coming in. You kind of, we'll see who comes in to fill the other spot. But as we sit here today, Jackson Arnold will most likely be the starter, or at least the heavy favorite. But we were down to two guys, and Ashton Daniels coming in. He's going to graduate from Stanford. You can't blame the young man for that. Going to finish up there and get his degree there. So he will not be here for A-Day. He will not be here for spring ball, but he will come in, and you're getting an experienced guy, Blake, that's played a lot of football. And we all know in the SEC, you can be one play away from disaster, and you have to call on a guy. And I think it's nice to call on a guy that's played some big-time football and can make some things happen.
Yeah, and look, this is a veteran guy, right? I think that's the upside to it, is to bring a guy in that could help a Deuce Knight, that could also possibly help a Jackson Arnold. He said, hey, I'm coming in to compete, but I want to make this team better. I want to do whatever it takes to make this team better. Is that practice? Is that, on the sideline wearing a headset, maybe holding a clipboard, whatever. Is he going to be the starter? No, Ashton Daniels is not going to be the starting quarterback for the Auburn Tigers in 2025. But that is okay. That is okay. Because like I said, there are other ways to help this football team win. It could be film study. Ashton Daniels could get in the film. He could get in the film room and say, hey, Deuce, look, man, this is what we're looking at right here. Jackson, what do you see right here? Point it out to me. There's different ways to help your team win. And I think you're getting a guy who he's played a lot of football. He's played in some big-time games. He's made some big-time throws. So if you have a guy go out there and get hurt, you're not scrambling and throwing a guy out there that hadn't even got his feet wet yet. So people can, they can trash on the pickup and say, oh, he's garbage and all this. Y'all, the picks and all of that could possibly be inflated because he was playing on an absolute terrible Stanford team. So, they weren't good. Am I saying he's a 5-star quarterback? No. But just give the kid an opportunity. I think it's a solid depth piece, and he could possibly help one of these quarterbacks grow into something that they might not be yet. So I do like the pickup, and it's close to home for him. He's coming in. He'll be closer to family and things like that, not all the way out there on the West Coast, man. So I like the pickup.
Yeah. Hey, if you're getting a kid from Stanford, he's
Smart.
he's smart. He's bringing intelligence, and you can expect that he's going to do the right things and just be a good leader in that room. And yeah, I mean, Jackson Arnold is still somewhat of a young guy, definitely not as seasoned as Ashton Daniels. And I didn't even think about that angle, Blake, of just kind of mentoring Deuce, showing him what it takes to be a college athlete and all that kind of stuff. And then 669 rushing yards with 3 TDs as well. So he's a threat on the ground, and it's one of them. I like that. You know, I hate whenever a team's backup quarterback is a statue. I hate that because, in my opinion, it's like if you're the backup and you're already not as good as the starter, you got to bring something. You got to bring something. If I'm down to my second string and maybe he's not the best passer in the world or he's not the most efficient, but he does bring an element of his legs, it's like you don't feel like all hope is lost, right? It's like, all right, man, well, maybe we can do something here. Maybe we can move the chains. I mean, I watched Cadillac take Robbie Ashford, and all of a sudden we turned into Navy, how they did Army the other day with the triple option. We were out there just running all over the place, man. So, and shout out to the Navy midshipman with a big freaking dub, dude. That was a great game. But yeah, man. So Ashton Daniels, I think it's a nice pickup. I don't know, and our guy Charlie Five made such an excellent point the other day talking about QB recruiting from high school. I just don't know how it's going to work anymore. It really doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to focus a whole lot on a high school quarterback unless, like, every year. Like, you obviously going to have to go get him, but it doesn't feel like I got to have a guy every year anymore, because what are the chances that guy even plays for your team? And if it's a guy like Deuce Knight, it's like, yeah, bro, we got to do what we got to do. But I think there'll be some years, Blake, where some teams are just going to say, there's no point. And these receivers and all these guys, you know how Walker White built the class last year? I think that's going to be a thing of the past soon, because you're not going to play with that guy. Like, the chances of that are just really low.
So I think where we're sitting at right now, it's kind of hard to get attached to any player at this point. It's kind of hard it's getting hard to even follow recruiting, honestly, because the situation that we just had in the transfer portal right across the state within the last 24 hours, y'all, it's a joke. And you can tell me to stop complaining in the comments. Stop, man. Like, you can't even defend this anymore. And like you said, Dustin, it's affecting high school kids. I don't know where we're going. I think we're lost right now. And I think you get all hyped up for this 5-star quarterback, and then all of a sudden you bring 2 QBs into the portal, and he says, "See you, dog. I'm going somewhere else." And you're like, "Well, you signed here, you committed here. Like, what happened?" I just didn't like how you went about the transfer portal. Things are getting weird, man. They're getting weird.
I just wonder how the coaches are going to handle it. I don't think there's any solid answer out there. And this is not a complaining about the portal session, but like you talked about with Mbakwe and all that, me and you are pro player. We're pro portal. You went on earlier this year talking about, look how great college football is this year. The portal's even it out. That's been a big stance of yours. So don't hear this and think we're not pro portal. It's just like we've said a million times, and I know people are not going to hear this, going to come on here and say, "Oh, the players need opportunity too," which is yes, it's exactly what we're saying. Yes. But there has to be structure. Okay, yep. You can't spend 2 years recruiting a player and then you get him on the field as a freshman in some cases, and he likes the team he's playing for. But just because another school calls with this fat offer, It's like, well, I'm like, it's silly. And Jamie makes a great point here. He says, as entertaining as the portal madness is, I'm seeing more and more people online tired of it. It's hurting the brand of college football. NIL is one thing, but these kids leaving after 1 year or pulling what Mbakwe did is silly. And I hear you, Jamie. It just needs rules and structure. The portal's great. Players need the opportunity to go because coaches can dip on them all the time. Go back and listen to the Kalen DeBoer speech at Washington where he was like, I hope you guys stay and keep building this thing. And it's like, how can you say that when you're elite, So like, I totally get all that. There's no one answer to it. I just think that at this point we can all acknowledge that street agents and the tampering and just the whole thing is a bit of a mess. It's a bit of a mess. And having to re-recruit your roster is wild. Having to re-recruit your roster before a playoff game or a bowl game is really insanity. And to your point, Jamie, I say this all the time. Look, NBA rate a stat came out about NBA ratings this week. NBA ratings are down 50% since 2012. There's reasons for that we won't get into tonight, but it's possible, right? It's possible. Me and you were talking, Blake. We both used to be huge NBA fans. Canceled our league pass, and there's a lot of things went on with that. But just making the point that a league can fall. I remember when getting a ticket to Talladega, you had a waiting list for a couple years, and that place could seat 100,000 plus. Now, if you go to a Walmart anywhere near Talladega, Alabama, like, hey man, tickets to the race? No, I'm good. That was a massive sport that fell apart too. So, man, college football is a great sport. We love it. I'm never gonna not be a fan of it, but they've got to get some of the stuff cleaned up, get some rules and structure to it. For sure. So I know there's going to be a lot of that in the comments tonight. And listen, we hear you guys and agree with you. Let's get on to this offensive line that is going to be protecting Jackson Arnold, maybe Ashton Daniels, maybe Deuce Knight. Another quarterback to be determined. We'll see how that goes. The big pickup early in the week for Virginia Tech's. He has started at tackle for the last 2 years, Blake. Xavier Chaplin, 6'3", 323 pounds. I think he was an all ACC member. Grades out very, very well in Pro Football Focus. I was looking at some of his grades. They got better every year he's played. They got better as the games went on throughout the year. So a player that's just continued to improve, continue to get better. Looks a little bit quicker, a little bit more agile than the last guy we brought in at left tackle that we thought was going to be that guy. So this is not any kind of nothing on Xavier Chaplin or the guy we're about to talk about in Mason Murphy. I'm not going to just come out and give any definites. I'm excited to have this guy on the team. I'm excited to see 6'3", 323. I think I'm wrong with 6'3", too. I think he's bigger than 6'3". I think I might have mistyped that. But a big, I think he's 6'7". I'll double check it. But a big guy in Xavier Chaplin has played a lot of football at a high level. A very good player for Virginia Tech. And then also tackle Mason Murphy, 6'5", 315 pounds. So you're adding two, and he started all 12 games this year for USC, Blake. You're adding two guys that have played a whole lot of football at Virginia Tech in the ACC and at USC in the Big Ten, and they both played that at a high level. They both had games where they grade out very, very well, and the tape is impressive. So just kind of talk about what this means for this program. Like, we knew we had to go get one tackle, and yet you had two that you really, really wanted, and were some of the highest ranked guys in the portal.
Yeah, hey, I just want more. All right, I want all the tackles, just in case if one of them don't pan out. Look, I thought Percy was going to be okay because he was a guy that had played in this league, and I thought him coming to Auburn would work out. So, yeah, I get what you're saying with you're not going to come on here and give any deficits, any definites or anything like that. I look at this as you needed help. You attacked the portal. You went and got two guys that could possibly help your offensive line, right? And I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to work out, but this was a must, y'all. Like, in order for Jackson Arnold to succeed at Auburn, this is a must. You have to shore up the offensive line. Now, like I said, I want more. I don't want to stop here. I want to keep going. I want as many options as possible. I'm to the point of where I see it failing year after year after year, where I don't want that to be an option anymore. Now, Mason Murphy's probably going to get the chance to play right tackle at Auburn instead of left tackle because you got Xavier that's coming in. So that might help him. I know at USC he kind of struggled here and there, so maybe he gets to go back to his natural position. I I think this is obviously a positive for Auburn. I'm not going to sit here and downplay it and say, "Oh, these two guys are terrible." I'm just not going to get on here and sunshine pump and say that they're the best two tackles in college football, and we're going 10-2 and going to the college football playoff next year because we got these two guys out of the transfer portal. So that's where I sit at it right now. I want to watch a little bit more on both of them,
right?
And then maybe we can do a member pod and talk a little bit more about them. But I mean, I obviously think they're must have pickups, and you're crushing the portal right now. That's another positive. So I mean, I like it. I like it.
I mean,
I think Auburn's trending well.
It's really, for me, it's the depth. It's like, okay, well, both of them are taking a step up, right? The SEC is a step up from the Big Ten. It's a step up from the ACC. Maybe not as big as the step up from the Big Ten. I keep thinking USC's in the Pac-12 still. But that thing's barely hanging on over there. But yeah, and Xavier is 6'7", so big guy, 6'7", 323 pounds, and he moves well for that size. Yeah, I like the depth aspect, and like, again, a step up in competition. The SEC will expose you, and if one of them isn't ready, well, you brought in another one, and the chances of you missing on both of them, I don't, probably not. I think one of them is going to hit. So I like that, man. Go, yeah, I got it pulled up right here. Like, breaking news: Amaris Williams will not enter the transfer portal. So back to our discussions. And a PSA for those of you with social media. A lot of Auburn fans clowning Bama yesterday for Mbakwe. A lot of Bama fans clowning Mbakwe. He ends up coming back to Alabama. A lot of Bama fans clowning Auburn. A lot of Auburn fans clowning Amaris. He ends up coming back to Auburn anyway. It's a mess right now. A lot of it's just negotiation ploy. Anybody can be an agent in college football. In the NFL, you got to get approved to represent an NFL player. They've got rules and structure in place to prevent from this kind of madness. So I don't know the ins and outs of the Amaris situation right now. It feels like negotiation to me, the same way the Mbakwe thing feels like negotiation. You got your bag up, young man, and he's a talented kid, and I'm glad that he's going to stay at Auburn.
Boy, this one had me nervous.
For sure, we can't lose him.
This one had me nervous because when I saw it pop up, I said, this doesn't make any sense. You're probably going to start next year.
Right.
What are you doing?
Got an SEC spot.
Yeah. It honestly didn't make a lick of sense to me unless he was throwing a feeler out like in Mbakwe did. And I get it. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying I don't agree with it, but it's the portal that we live in right now.
Yeah.
So, like, kids are going to do it. Do I think there needs to be change? Yes, I do. I could go on a whole spiel about the change. But this one shocked me when I saw it. I was like, dude, you're going to play. You're going to start. Where are you going? And then I saw Dapp say, well, hey, just remember there was a legendary coach hired at North Carolina. Where is Amaris from? Like, be careful, And then I was like, oh, yeah. Like, here we go. All right.
North Carolina coming.
Yeah, North Carolina coming in. Maybe something could happen there. But to see this news of him coming back, I love it. I'm glad to have him back. I never wanted to lose Amaris Williams. But I'll tell you all this.
I know where you're going.
The whole jumping in and out of the portal. Got to stop.
I thought you were going to talk about Jared Smith coming in.
With that, too. Got to watch him last Saturday. And I promise I'm going to do the member pod for you as soon as I get some free time of what I saw. That absolute freak of nature. All right. Didn't realize he was that big. Didn't realize he was that damn fast. All right. But all the jumping in and out of the portal and all that stuff, I it's got to stop, man. It's honestly.
Yeah, our guy Mike G just tweeted, once paperwork is submitted, players have 48 to 72 hours to withdraw before anything is processed. A lot of paperwork is withdrawn, and most fans never even know the kid was considering making a jump. So it's just and that's his quote tweet of the Amaris Williams tweet. So yeah, man, just a lot going on. It's just a lot going on. It's hard to keep up with.
It's not us. Look, y'all, it's not us hating. I'm not hating the kids or what. It's the portal that we live in. We let this thing get out of control.
Looking
And the
at you,
reason,
NCAA.
yes, like just clean it up and make things to where these kids, man, you're teaching hard work and work ethic for when football is no more. Like it's not just hey up and go here, up and go there. Come on, man. But I'm glad he's back. I never wanted to see him fill out the paperwork. I don't want to see any Auburn guys fill out the paperwork. You know,
Yeah.
so whew, it
Yeah.
feels good to have him back.
Yeah, glad that whatever needed to happen here to get this one done, good job. I don't know if On the Victor was involved, Hugh Freeze, whoever. And maybe, hey, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, Blake, maybe Josh Aldridge going to ECU, his position coach, right? Maybe that played an aspect of it, and he wasn't sure. Hey, I'm losing, I'm losing the guy that recruited me, and you see that going on a lot too. So yeah, it could have been something like that. And by the way, shout out to Josh Aldridge. Kind of saw that one coming, man, just because he crushed it. He crushed it when he was at Auburn. Josh Aldridge is going to ECU to be the defensive coordinator. Killed it in recruiting. His players, he got the most out of what he had on the field. You watched his guys develop through their time at Auburn. So it just felt like he was a guy. I thought we were going to lose him after year one, the way he recruited right out the gate. We were able to retain him for another year. But this is I know it's a good and bad thing, right? When that happens, because it's a good thing that Josh Aldridge got promoted. It's a good, because now you're selling, hey man, you come to Auburn, you're an assistant coach, you can get promoted, you can rise up. And you saw that with the defensive line coach last year, Jeremy Garrett, the Jaguars coming in and saying, hey, you did a great job with a whole lot of nothing in your first year at Auburn. And then he had crushed recruiting, and they said, come on up here to Jacksonville, man. And so he's up there with the Jaguars now, getting promoted. So good hire by Hugh Freeze. Whenever you hire an assistant coach and they get promoted up out of your program, it's a good hire by the head coach. Hate to see him go because Josh Aldridge, like I said, just kills it on the recruiting trail, and is a great on the field coach and a good developer and all that as well. But yeah, man, very, very, very excited to keep Amaris. Hate to see Josh Aldridge go. Excited though, because one thing I've learned about Hugh Freeze is he's going to fill that spot with somebody that can recruit. So whoever's filling Josh Aldridge's spot is going to come in and be able to recruit, and hopefully he can come in and build a relationship with guys like Jared Smith and all that, and keep that thing rolling. And I'm just really, really excited for everything going on the defensive side of the ball. And speaking of that, we got some transfers coming in on the defensive side of the ball as well. Miami of Ohio, defensive back, what's that? Rayon Stratter, 53 tackles, 17 pass deflections. He was all first team MAC, little Maction, 2 interceptions in 2024, 6 foot, 182 pounds. And then you get the safety from Georgia Tech as well, and Tay Seymour. He's 5'11", 202. He's pretty stout at 5'11", 202. He packs a punch. Big time safety up there, man, for the Yellow Jackets. And this is a big pool. I know Atlanta and Auburn are close, but he's from Atlanta. He's from Atlanta, playing for a Georgia Tech program it's on the up and up, has some success. So this is a big time gift for Auburn. And we know that DB room is young, but they played well. But I think you saw it get thin real quick last year. So these are some big. I don't want to say depth pieces in the way we're talking about Ashton Daniels, because these kids can push to play, right? But you had to have these numbers. You had to have these guys.
Yeah, that's why I'm so excited about both of these pickups. Is because look, we're a talented room, but we're a young room, and there's not a lot of depth there. You got to think, y'all. Champ is returning from a catastrophic leg injury.
Yeah,
like
Tyler Scott too.
Tyler Scott. I'm not. Look, I hope these guys come back. I hope they're 100%. But with knees and legs, you just honestly never know. All right. Thank goodness technology is the way it is today, and these surgeons are far more advanced than what they used to be back in the 70s and 80s. But you're still thin. You had guys transfer out. You just lost Robinson in the safety room. Yeah, so you just lost him. You bring in a guy like Tay Seymour. He's played both safety spots. He's a hybrid guy. He's played a little linebacker at Georgia Tech. They say he can work down and play the nickel. I think that's big for Auburn, that you could throw him down there maybe. And I'm not saying full time, but it could be a possible move for Auburn. You have some guys that you could maneuver around back there. where you tried to maneuver a guy around last year and it didn't work. And then you try to put him back in his normal spot and he just kept getting cooked. So these are two guys that you kind of had to have, kind of like the offensive line, right? With both tackles. You had to have these two guys. You had to go out and make them a priority to come to Auburn because you didn't have a lot of guys in the room in the secondary. You just had a guy transfer out. You had two guys tear their legs up. There's been a lot go on in that room. Now, yes, they're very talented. They're very, very talented. And they're coached by two of the best.
Yeah.
But you had to have these guys. And look, ain't nothing wrong with a little action, baby. All right.
No, sir, never.
The kid can play. All right. He's put up the numbers. I think, what he said about Auburn and coming to Auburn and playing for Charles Kelly and playing for Crime, like, that speaks volumes. He's a veteran. Played 2 years. Both of them still have 2 years of eligibility left. Yeah. Come on now. This is a big-time move for Auburn. I like both of them.
Yeah, we say this all the time, Blake. If Charles Kelly and Crime Dog think you're good enough, I'm going to trust their evals. We talk about coaches that have earned trust. I think those two guys, you look out throughout their career, they've earned our trust, man. If they think those guys are good enough to come play at Auburn, then the chances are they don't hit on 100% because nobody does. But they damn near close now. They are damn near close. I want to get to some of these comments, man, before we get out of here and get ready for this this basketball game tonight. Daniel asks, will Arnold be here for A-Day? Yes, he will. Arnold will be participating in spring ball. As of now, Daniel, we got two arms. They might be calling in the quarterback from Phoenix City and Auburn High to come throw some footballs at spring football for Auburn, man. But yeah, Jackson Arnold will be there. D says, I can make the case Ashton Daniels is more proven than Jackson. Let them compete, please. Yeah. I mean, I don't think either one of them is really too proven. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all for an actual open competition. And D, I'll add to this. That includes Deuce Knight. Just let it be fair. Let it be fair. Have a fair competition. I'm not saying Deuce Knight would win the competition, nothing like that. But when you named Peyton Thorne the starter because he was pressing, that's not a fair competition.
Yeah.
That's not a fair. And Bo got handed the job because of the legacy and 5-star. And I'm not saying Joey Gatewood was the option, and but Malik Willis seemed to do okay when he went to Liberty. So let's just a fair QB competition would be okay.
When people ask me about this and the Walker White fair QB competition, did he leave because he thought it wasn't going to be fair? Y'all, Hugh Freeze's job is on the line.
Point.
His job is on the line. And Baylor's having some nice portal pickups over there. That's going to be a massive game for him. Game 1, week 1. It's got to be a fair competition. The best man has to play. All of this stuff where, I felt Peyton, all right? I just felt like, hey, man, they're tied into this guy. They're paying him some cash. He's got to stay out there. He's going to get most of the reps to prove himself, and it is what it is. I think now, regardless of whatever money you give any kid, your job is on the line. It's go time. You have to let the best man walk out on the field and take the first snap. I'm just telling you, I think it's Jackson Arnold.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's going to be an unfair QB competition. When I said that earlier in the show, I just think it's going to be Jackson Arnold just because of the potential that could possibly be unlocked. That's just me. But hey, good luck to Ashton Daniels. If he wins it, I'll be his biggest damn supporter on this earth, man.
Yeah, absolutely. P-Pass says, does Garrett come back if Jacksonville cleans house? I prefer not to. No, Coach Williams killed it this year, so there's really no need. He's recruiting well. I mean, the defensive line class was the best part of this recruiting class, the defensive line room. Antonio Coleman, Jordan Crawford, who Blake hasn't stopped talking about since he watched him play hit the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game. Coach Williams is set, man. He's done a good job. And Coach Garrett did a great job, but no, I don't see they would have to do some moving around, moving somebody to the edge spot and all that. I just don't see that
Yeah.
happening. Auburn Dad says, don't hate the player, hate the game, as one said. Absolutely. Hey,
Yep.
like Blake said, it's the portal we're in, so it's not ain't nobody knocking nobody. We're just saying the powers that be gotta come in with some damn rules, man. Not mad at the players, dude. Play the game.
Yeah, it's not the players, y'all. It's not the players, because look, if somebody was, it's like it's your job, man. If the company down the street, they're waving every time you go to lunch, they're on the side of the road and they're waving $5 extra an hour at you, and they're saying, hey, $5 extra, $10 extra an hour. How about we got 15? All right. You're gonna stop and listen, and you're gonna say, hey, what was that? Let me roll down this window real quick. What was that? What were you saying? You give me an extra week of vacation too? Wow. How's that 401k looking? All right. And then your boss, you got to go back to boss man. And he's like, oh, come on, man. You got to come back. That's, excuse me. That's the world we're living in. All right. That's the portal we're living in. It's got to change, man. It's got to change. It's wild.
Jay Murphy says, great job as always, guys. Love the podcast. Award Damn Eagle. Hey, thanks, man. Jay. Appreciate you, brother. And then I got 2 more left here before we get out of here, guys. Please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's get over here and watch this basketball team kick some ass tonight. I saw you had this one, Star Blake. You want to speak on this? C5 said he expects Singleton to pop tomorrow. Charlie 5's expecting a big wide receiver transfer tomorrow, apparently.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this one because how upset would Ole Miss fans be if this is true? And shout out to my guy, Charlie, Kyle, whatever you want to call him, C5, whatever you want to call him. Shout out to him, the hardest working man that is in the business right now, man. I think him, Ike, and Mike G and others do an incredible job. You can throw Blackerby in there, Dap, all these guys, man.
Yeah, man.
They do an incredible, incredible job. And C5's content is it's top tier. And I looked at Ole Miss throwing crystal balls out. Well, they threw a crystal ball out for Mbakwe. They threw a crystal ball out for Singleton. And the guy throwing these crystal balls out has been wrong a lot. I mean, he has missed. My buddy he's missing at a high rate. He looks like, what was old boy for the basketball team that come in and then he went to Syracuse?
Chance.
Yeah, Chance Westry, boy.
Woo, boy.
Yeah, that's what he's shooting like. He's rough, all right. But how crazy would it be for Auburn fans to be able to get one in on Ole Miss again? I think we'd be having a pretty damn fun time.
But back when we had about 60 subscribers, wasn't nobody watching, but I said Chance Westry wasn't never going to do nothing, and all 10 people that saw that got mad. But yeah, man, this Singleton thing that'd be huge, and I would love to see the Ole Miss fans get pissed off. Yeah, definitely trust C5. As far as the guy who talked about making crystal, I wouldn't make any crystal balls for the portal if that was my job. There's no way I'd do it with the portal. Because think of the Avery Jones situation. He's going to the airport to go to Illinois, and Auburn calls, and all of a sudden, I got Auburn.
Think of the Phoenix Jackson thing.
Yeah.
He said, I want to play at Auburn. And they said, whoa. And now we got to play in week 1. Crazy. Committed to Baylor today.
That's wild. All right, let's finish off here tonight, man. Daniel says, does 8-4 get Freeze fired? No. I think 7-5 is dancing on that territory. But I think 8-4, you bring in a top 5 class knowing him. And I don't see how you can't sell a 3-game jump as progress. Maybe, Daniel, if the defense just carries, right? If the offense is just terrible, but I personally think Auburn's going to have one of the best defenses in the country next year.
Yeah.
Like top 5 type. I don't really see how that doesn't happen. So if it's a situation like where Gus had a couple times where it's like, dude, you wouldn't have won these games if it wasn't for the defensive coordinator any damn way. If that happens, and then you add in losses to Georgia and Bama, because I'm sick of losing to them.
Yep.
And I for a long time, I thought Ohio State fans were crazy for the way they were going at Ryan Day. And then I watched them lose to Michigan again this year. And I said, you know what? I get it.
Yep.
I get it. I get it. Would you fire a coach as 10-2 and take him to the playoffs? No. Probably a dumb move. But boy, I get why you're pissed. And if he doesn't beat them next year, so yeah, it depends on how the 8-4 would look, Daniel. I doubt 8-4 gets him fired next year. 6-6, gone. Anything under 7-5, it's a wrap. And 7-5's dancing, and Blake doesn't look too sold on 8-4.
What I was gonna say is a college football fan. I love college football, and I think it would be really, really weird to see, but it just might happen. Is if Ohio State loses next week to Tennessee, you're going to see the first head coach make the college football playoffs and get fired right after, because Ryan Day will not be there any longer, is my belief. And then I think you're going to have a guy who's also in the playoffs, who played linebacker for Ohio State, who is the head coach at Notre Dame right now, take that Ohio State job. All right, so I think it's going to get bananas here shortly, and that's why we love college football. But does 8-4 get Hugh Freeze fired? No. Does 7-5? Depends on who you lose to. If you go to Nashville, and you lose, 7-5. 7-5 might get you fired. If you lose to Georgia and Alabama again, 7-5 might get you fired.
Yeah.
This fan base is tired of losing to those two programs. It is. It's become old, distasteful. Like it's just nasty. I'm sick of it. I don't want it to happen anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of having to turn to basketball to beat those two teams. I'm sick of it. So change it. Like we always say, remember, we've been saying flip the script for like 2 or 3 years now. And we ain't been flipping a whole lot of nothing except recruits. All right. So let's get after it. I believe in Hugh Freeze. I think there's some things he's got to clean up, like I've said multiple times. But go get it done this year. 8-4 keeps his job. Hopefully we can get to that mark. Hopefully we can do better than that. But just win the games you're supposed to, and show progress, like you said, Dustin, on the offensive side, and the defense not have to carry you.
Yeah, absolutely. Bubba, and I'm glad you put this in here, Bubba, because you left the super chat on our last episode and we didn't notice it until we got off. So thank you for the last super chat and thank you for this one. Bubba says it needs to be 2009 7-5, not 2011 7-5.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure, man. I agree with that 100%. And then Martin, I haven't seen you in the chat tonight. I'm sure you'll watch the replay. You left a $4.99 super chat on the last episode. We missed that as well. Big thank you, buddy. Appreciate you supporting. So yeah, just a big up to you guys for being in here. And look, Blake, I got to throw this out there before we get out of here. Look, I never met the man, but I think that the way people have spoke about Chet Williams this week has spoke volumes for his character. And so I'm not going to get on here and act, super emotional about somebody that I didn't know personally and all that. Very, very sad for the Auburn family. Very, very sad for everybody that knew him. And I can just tell you that my goal as a man is to be talked about when my time is up on this earth, the way people have talked about Brother Chet, a guy that from the entire time I've been watching Auburn football, you've heard about. And a lot of y'all been Auburn fans a long time. Y'all know how it used to go. You had to read Athlon magazines. You're waiting to go get the Lindsay magazine from Walgreens or Winn-Dixie or wherever, and you read little newspaper articles, and there's a whole lot of hearsay. And you just, over time, you would hear through all these different outlets about, if you weren't on the Auburn campus, you would hear about Brother Chet, all the players talking about him, and then the hard fighting soldiers for the 2004 team, which for so many of you are watching were your childhood heroes. I know they were mine, right? That's why that night versus A&M with Cadillac as the head coach was what it was, because it meant so much to all Auburn fans, but to people like me and you, Blake, that's what we came up on. Like that was our Bo freaking Jackson. That team will forever be. I don't care. 2010 was great. I don't care if 2025 is perfect. That 2004 team is the greatest Auburn football team of my ever. I'll never put nothing above it. And Chet Williams, the hard fighting soldier theme, he was such a huge part of that. Just a great man by all accounts. And so just my thoughts and prayers are with everybody that knew him, the Auburn family. Yeah, man. And rest in peace, brother Chet. And I'm sure you'll be looking down on the Auburn games next year, pulling for your Tigers, man. And he spent Christmas in one hell of a place. So yeah, man, just tough.
You're right. You're absolutely right, Dustin. And I think the thing for me when I was scrolling on Twitter and looking back at all of the players that reached out and the post on Instagram and the post on Twitter and all of those things from 25 years, these guys were like, man, he touched our lives. Like he turned me into something that I wasn't. I didn't know I could be that type of person. I didn't know I could be that kind of man. When I come to Auburn, I was a kid. When I left, I was a man. I was a spiritual man.
Yeah, man of God.
A man of God, man. And a lot of these kids, they come up from nothing. And he turned them into something. And that is the outreach and the positivity and the word that he spread. I've watched the video that I saw on Twitter, and it was him, in the circle, and he was just telling the kids, man, be thankful for this circle. Be thankful for each other. He always spread the positivity, man. He always was there for these kids. And we didn't know him personally, but he was a part of the Auburn family. And anytime you lose somebody like that, I had people that they're big time Auburn fans, and they just said the same thing. They're like, man, we didn't know him personally, but this is awful. This is terrible. It's terrible news. I do want to say, man, we know where he's at, and we know he's getting to he's getting to live it up, man. He's getting to enjoy every second. And I'll be honest with you, he gets to be reunited with his son, and that's probably something that can touch a lot of people, man. So he went out and he did the right thing for all of these football players and all these athletes and everybody that he touched, man. Just a hell of a person, and I can't say enough about him.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anytime somebody like that, we're always sad whenever we lose people on this earth, but whenever you have somebody like that and you know where he's going, he's going to a better place. We feel sad. We're, people that knew you here on earth are going to miss you, but he completed his mission. There's no doubt about that. Teresa says, I met him the weekend of the A&M game, checked on me when I fell asleep in the car. Very nice man and so sad. Yeah, listen, literally not a bad word ever said about Brother Chet. So we know he's up in heaven looking down. Rest in peace, brother. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not, and we will be back Thursday afternoon. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. It's War Damn Eagle forever, baby.
War Damn.